We've got layoffs, Luna, and launches. Let's talk. What up, viewers? What up? What up? Calc Soups here, and today is Friday, October 3rd, and that means it's time for a quick recap of the week in video game news. Like I said, we got some video games launches, one of which I am very excited for. Ghost of Yotei, the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, sequel, successor, the next game from Sucker Punch, Ghost of Yotei, launched this week. It is currently at an 86 Metacritic, compared to Ghost of Tsushima's launch Metacritic, which was 83. So this one seems to be a little bit better. Or roughly the same. Hopefully seems like they have some quality of life improvements. I, for one, am looking forward to the Legends multiplayer game because me and my friends love the heck out of that for Ghost of Tsushima, so we're looking forward to playing that next year, but I know a lot of them are excited to pick it up now. Sounds like the world is a great world to explore. Ghost of Tsushima had a really awesome world to explore, lots of fun and interesting ways, and kind of immersive gameplay with the lack of a HUD and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, looking forward to that. It sounds like the story is set up really well. Gives you all the reasons why you want to go out on a hardcore quest for revenge, and it seems to set that up well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Ghost of Yotei. If you picked it up or are looking forward to playing it, let me know down in the comments below. Probably unsurprising to anybody watching, but K-pop Demon Hunters is finally coming to Fortnite, giving us a little bit of a unique scenario on how quickly Fortnite can turn something around. So K-pop Demon Hunters came out in June and exploded. It's taken over the whole summer. Probably the biggest thing coming out of this summer is Netflix's K-pop Demon Hunter show. And now that we're getting it in early October, that gives us like a 3-month turnaround for Fortnite to take something that is popular and program it into their video game, as opposed to what they probably typically do is like they know a movie is coming out or a movie came out and they were working with the publisher the whole time. Then they work to develop that and bring in new characters and all that kind of stuff. But this is like K-pop Demon Hunters blew up. Probably got Epic. Epic called them pretty soon after that, and bing bang boom, you get K-pop Demon Hunters coming to Fortnite. As I think had been somewhat hinted at, or at least run around the rumor mill for a little while now. But it starts I think this week, and they're even bringing out a new mode and a bunch of skins and a bunch of fun stuff to do with the K-pop Demon Hunters. One kind of small tangent here is that I just realized, kind of like watching this, like we kind of poo-poo the like Fortnite-ification of a lot of different games out there of like bringing in outside skins and popular media. But I'm curious how much fun the people who have to program like at Fortnite or any of these other games that are getting Fortnite-ified, how much fun it is to like, hey, I have been programming this character for a long time. Now I get to do Superman and Thanos and like all other major IPs. Now, there's modern, living singers and all that kind of stuff running around too. So, just kind of interesting. I hope that the people who are programming and making these character skins are having a blast doing it, working on some massive IPs while also working at Fortnite. Although 3 months there's probably some crunch that probably doesn't get talked about, having to like turn these things around as quickly as possible once the deal gets inked. So interesting stuff there, but I digress. K-pop Demon Hunters coming to Fortnite. Check it out. Borderlands 4 talked about their new character coming out. They've been notably missing a kind of like sniper person. You've kind of had this like sniper or crit shot or very gun focused build in Borderlands is usually part of one of the many characters you could play as. But that seemed to be somewhat missing in the Borderlands 4 roster. Well, maybe not anymore. They announced a new character, Cash, or C4SH, which is a like undead robot gunslinger type. He's got like his cowboy hat on. So I don't know if this will kind of fit that niche of like sniper or crit shot build kind of character who really cares about like one big heavy hit in the right spot. So yeah, I wonder what that will look like coming to Borderlands early next year. Battlefield 6 is just a week away from launch, and that means it's live action trailer time. Yeah, let's put some people boots on the ground and see, you know, what a live action trailer will look like for Battlefield 6. They took a little bit of a jab at Call of Duty as the trailer starts with like several, you know, famous celebrity cameos with like Zac Efron leading the group. And then they immediately explode them. And then they just have, you know, normal generic soldiers walk right over them, and they're like, who was that? And they're like, who cares? Or it doesn't matter, or something like that. So it feels a little, yeah, like a jab at Call of Duty, which has had their trailers have had like big name characters or popular faces or celebrities in them with like anyone, like lots of different celebrity cameos. So Battlefield kind of taking the other approach and just having generic soldiers and showing off, you know, explosions and soldiers being soldiers kind of stuff. So pretty funny stuff there. I'll have a link down below for you to check out that live action trailer. The deal is not quite signed, but we talked last week about EA's investment from the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund, as well as a couple other kind of investors who are all working to buy out EA. It was a little bit more in kind of the rumor speculation area last week. This week, it seemed to like this thing is happening. Now it will probably take a long time to like get to the courts and all that kind of stuff. But this week it ramped up pretty quickly, and it sounds like this thing is happening, provided no government agency like steps in the way. And with that, people started digging into what other things has the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund invested in previously. They're seeming very Vivendi-ish. If you know, some of you old-time gamers will know that Vivendi kind of was a major contributor in almost every like major game studio circa 2005-ish, like, you know, early aughts kind of stuff. And this one feels very similar. They're like a 5% investor in Epic. They're like 8 or 9% invested in Nintendo, which, reading the article, which I'll have linked down below, talks about like that's the biggest non-Japanese investor in Nintendo, which was interesting. They're also partially invested in Take-Two. They're invested in Activision Blizzard, which feels weird because it's ABK and then now it's Microsoft. So like, did they invest way back then? Yeah, so they've got a little bit of everything as far as like fingers in the video game pies. They're also, I think I talked about previously how they own either the company that owns Scopely or they are highly invested in Scopely itself. So yeah, they are majorly invested in video games and haven't influenced those studios per se to this point. So you know, there's at least a model for which they, you know, we can see what they would do with EA, and from what the positive speculation is talking about, not a lot will change as they try and earn back their money using the $7 to $8 billion that EA makes every year with sports and Battlefield and other games. So all that's to say is dug in, and it sounds like, you know, this is going through, and there's still be more to follow up on as this becomes more and more real with EA going private. Going back to Fortnite, the Peacemaker, while the intro, anybody who's watched Peacemaker, the intro to the show always has like a really funny dance, and they changed it up this season, and it's like very well choreographed. And so at first blush, that would seem like a great thing to like throw into Fortnite. And, you know, everybody wants to do the crazy kooky dance from Peacemaker. Well, that kind of bit them in the ass as light spoilers for Peacemaker Season 2 here. Holding for a second. Yes, there's going to be light spoilers for Season 2 of Peacemaker. The dance has some kind of like Nazi symbology because in Peacemaker there's a pretty significant plot point where Peacemaker goes to a world and thinks it's a utopia, and then it turns out, you know, it's all Nazis. And And so because of that, Fortnite is trying to distance themselves, or at least has turned it off and given refunds for everybody who bought the Peacemaker dance in Fortnite, as they're trying to distance themselves and make sure that they've crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's, and make sure they're not associated with Nazis. So good on them. I feel like someone on the WB side knew that there was like Nazis involved in this, and like Peacemaker, his dad was a Nazi. Spoilers for season 1 now. But like, I'm pretty sure there's like a pretty close tie to like Peacemaker and Nazis and stuff like that. So, and someone had to have known where they were going in season 2 and still let this deal happen, even though it was like foreshadowed Nazi stuff. So anyway, Fortnite's removing the skin, or removing the dance, to distance themselves from any kind of Nazi-ish stuff. So, good on them. Moving right along, Amazon Luna is still around, alive and kicking, and they are actually like upgrading, and they kind of gave a video this week talking about some of the new things that are coming to Amazon Luna. It looks like they're trying to do like digital board game stuff, and so I saw things like exploding kittens, and a lot of the trailer kind of shows off people using their phones to play Luna games that are kind of displayed on like a central TV. So very like Jackbox-esque, but you're going to be playing, I don't know, Uno or card games that you will have your card in your mobile phone app, and be able to play it on the screen for everybody to watch. With things like exploding kittens was a very prominent feature of this trailer, which I'll link to down below. But yeah, I've, as someone who's probably one of the very few people who still like has a working Amazon Luna controller, pretty interesting to see that they're kind of going the party multiplayer route with their games, with their game lineup. So hopefully we can connect to Luna. We already could kind of like, I think there's even like an adapter for the controller where like you can put your phone in, and then the controller will Bluetooth to the phone, and then you can play actual games from the controller onto your mobile phone. So there's already like a mobile interaction, but now they're going to try and do that with more of a party game, board game kind of vibe to it. So pretty interesting stuff there. Just think of like Jackbox type games, but more board game-esque in that sense. Coming to Amazon Luna. Seems that after a successful release, that there could still be major layoffs, a couple months or so down the line. Funcom, the creators of Dune Awakening, the recently released MMO-esque survival game based in the Dune universe. A couple months after they launched back in May. And now after their first major DLC is released, they are having a series of layoffs and some restructuring. Not to give them any benefit of the doubt, but I'm curious if we are so hyper focused on like layoffs that we are like discounting that this being a normal life cycle for like post-launch games don't need as many developers as pre-launch games do, and so calling that like layoffs felt a little weird to me. Based on what I'm understanding, and maybe I'm not understanding something about like, traditional full roles are being removed as opposed to just like developer workforce is decreasing. But yeah, it seems that even after making Funcom's most successful game in their 30-year history with Dune Awakening, that does not insulate them from layoffs, which just goes to show you how kind of a capitalistic hellscape we're in, where success does not equal job security, which is unfortunate. But I do think maybe there's a little bit of hypervigilance in gaming layoffs, resulting in like normal post-launch compression being kind of thrown in as like the games industry laying off everybody all the time. So there's a little bit of two sides to this, but there were layoffs at a company that was doing well. So maybe not two sides. Moving on to actual upcoming video games. There is a cult sim coming out called Join Us. I think someone who was listening when me and my friends said after Cult of the Lamb, hey, what if I just wanted to do the cult stuff and like make a big cult and manage that? That sounds like exactly what Join Us is. It's kind of a third person action game plus like a colony sim. You want to build up your cult and you want to convert people from local towns and like get them to help you cultivate your cult. Um, there's also like some third person action stuff where like you have to fight off authorities and you're using guns and you're riding pigs. I think there's some crazy other stuff in there, but there's a cool upcoming kind of cult management sim called Join Us that is coming out, which I'll have a link down below for you to check out and or wish list. Another video game coming out that I thought looked pretty cool was there's a Dungeons and Dragons kind of virtual card game, which seems more like a board game experience you can play on the PC with multiple people as opposed to like a Baldur's Gate-esque type game, but it still uses the Dungeons & Dragons IP. The game is called Battle Marked, and every player has like a series of actions, but those are all cards, and then you use your cards on your turn to perform your normal character actions. There is like RPG mechanics, I would think, to it, as you would expect from a Dungeons & Dragons game, but you are going to like level up, potentially get better cards, use those cards to defeat monsters, so on and so forth. So pretty cool Dungeons & Dragons game, but I feel like it's going to scratch more of the multiplayer board game-esque itch than it is like a hardcore TRPG solo Baldur's Gate run would. So just something to consider in your Dungeons & Dragons, RPG experiences. This one seems a little bit more card game, multiplayer, board game-esque than it does like hardcore tabletop RPG game. So just my thoughts, but still look like a game that I would be interested in playing with, 3 to 4 of my friends and seeing how that plays. But I digress. And that's it for this week. Let me know if you feel I forgot anything down below in the comments. But as always, thanks for watching. I hope you have a super day. I hope you have a super weekend. And I hope you have a super day. Bye!